You're watching News Central now on News Central Television. Good evening and welcome. My name is Mazino. The top stories this hour. Nance dismisses planned protest over fuel price hike, warns against misinformation, and deadly mpox disease resurfaces in Nigeria. Awareness remains low. Zimbabwe court keeps opposition leader activist in jail. Details shortly. Now, let's begin by telling you that President Bola Tinubu has highlighted Africa's vast opportunities for investment, growth and development, citing its vibrant population, productive economy and abundant natural resources. Speaking at a bilateral meeting with Chinese Premier Li Qiang on Wednesday in Beijing, President Tinubu praised the Forum on China-Africa Cooperation for enhancing the partnership between Africa and China, promoting mutual development and prosperity. He emphasized the need for strategic collaboration to ensure that the relationship between Africa and China remains mutually beneficial. President Tinubu, in Beijing for the 9th FOCAC summit, expressed gratitude for the warm reception from the Chinese government. Premier Li Qiang affirmed China's readiness to work with Nigeria to advance the comprehensive strategic partnership recently established by President Xi Jinping and President Tinubu.
This journey together, we believe that we can share a very common denominator, which is investment and development, to ensure China and African relationship is encouraged. For me, as a Nigerian, and equally as the chairman of the ECOWAS, I'm happy that the strategic partnership being promoted is acceptable to both sides. And this is only way to go. Africa is a huge opportunity for economic development. As a great people, I'm willing to partner for progress and development. What is lacking will be the focus of the FOCAC and the areas that we can collaborate to make the relationship mutually beneficial to all of us. I thank you for receiving us warmly.
Two leaders from the Okuama community in Ughelli South local government area of Delta State have filed a lawsuit against the Nigerian Army and the State Security Service, seeking 200 million naira in damages. James Oboroko and Dennis Okubaye, who were among 6 community leaders reportedly arrested by military officials last month, initiated separate suits at the Federal High Court in Warri through their legal team. They are challenging their arrest and prolonged detention without being charged in court or granted access to their lawyers. The claimants are seeking the enforcement of their fundamental rights, including personal liberty, privacy, dignity, and freedom of movement. They have also requested the courts to order their immediate and unconditional release from detention. To security matters now, President Bola Tinubu has promised that those responsible for the recent deadly attack in Mafa, Tamua local government area of Yobe State will face justice. On Sunday evening, suspected Boko Haram terrorists attacked the community, leaving about 80 people dead and many still missing. In a statement released by his special advisor on media and publicity, Ajuri Ngalale, President Bola Tinubu condemned the attack as an atrocious and cowardly act of terror by a degraded group of criminals. He expressed his condolences to the government and people of Yobe, mourning the tragic loss of lives. He assured the people of Yobe State that those behind this sinister act will inevitably face justice. Meanwhile, a mass funeral has been held in Babangida for 34 of at least 81 people who died after an attack on the nearby Mafa village by suspected Boko Haram jihadists in Nigeria's northeastern Yobe state.
Here to attend the funeral prayers of our people from Mafa village who were massacred by the Boko Haram the day before yesterday. And we have prayed for 34 souls. The military have devastated them seriously. They have the capacity to attack major towns, so they are now bent on small targets, sub-targets where the people may not be able to defend themselves.
Still on security matters, Rivers State Governor Siminalayi Fubara has cautioned partisan police officers who abandon their core professional responsibilities to pursue vested political interests to know that the enmity they fuel and eventually create will hurt them in the long run. Governor Fubara gave the advice at the inauguration and formal handover of 100 operational vehicles acquired by his administration to the Rivers State Police Command at the Sharks Football Stadium in Port Harcourt on Tuesday. News Central correspondent Austin Azu completes the report.
Insecurity has been a major challenge ravaging the entire parts of Nigeria. And Rivers State in south-south region of the country is not different, as it is also grappling with sea pirates, kidnapping, armed robbery, crude oil theft, among other crimes that residents of the state have grappled with over the years. As part of the measures to tackle these challenges, the state governor, Siminalayi Fubara, is here to hand over these 100 operational vehicles to the Nigeria police force to enable them to go after these suspected criminals terrorizing the state.
On behalf of the government and the good people of Rivers State, officially dedicate and hand over these vehicles to the Nigerian police force, Rivers State Command. The vehicle will be used for the good of the people of Rivers State. It Father, God Son, and God the Spirit.
Speaking of the political crisis in the state, Governor Fubara said police officers are engaged and trained as professionals to protect lives and property while contributing to the desired peace in the state as a patriotic duty. He charged them to conduct their operations as real professionals that have been so trained so that they can be effective in protecting lives and property.
And why are we doing this? We discovered that response to crime scene, to attack, and to other lot of things were being slowed because you lack mobility. And what we just did was a first phase of support to the Nigerian police. We also intend to come again to give you other sophisticated vehicles to support what you're doing.
Earlier in his opening remarks, the Rivers State Commissioner of Police Olatunji Dusu described the event as a significant milestone in the commitment towards achieving peace and security of the state.
This act of generosity not only enhances our operational capacity, but also reflects your deep concern for the citizens of the state. These vehicles will empower our officers, enabling them to respond more swiftly and effectively to emergencies and enhance our community policing efforts. With your support, sir, we are reinforcing our resolve to combat crime and uphold the rule of law.
As the saying goes that to whom much is given, much is expected. The Rivers State government hopes the kind gesture will motivate the State Police Command to go after men of the underworld, terrorizing and making rivers unsafe. In Port Harcourt for News Central, I'm Austin Azu.
Now let's turn our attention to matters arising from the oil sector. Residents of Lagos are getting more vocal with airing their grievances as the price of petrol has now gone up. While some stations remain shut, others have updated their prices on their billboards and have commenced sale. News Central's Bernard Akede has been monitoring the fuel situation around Lagos. His report.
The lamentation of Lagos residents as they are now faced with their new reality, a significant increase in the pump price of petrol.
Can you see that pedestrian bridge? The pedestrian bridge over there, that was where I met the queue. Around 3 a.m. Until now, I'm yet to go inside. We shouldn't be suffering like this now. We shouldn't be suffering like this. I mean, these things, we have these things. It's just as if your mother has a restaurant and you're begging for food to eat.
We are suffering with that 620, but now, see, the hardship is too much. To enter transport from my place to the working place is so high. While I'm managing 3,000 for transport before, it's now close to 6,000 naira for transport, which is too much.
Some petrol stations have already started effecting the new price on their boards as they commenced sale. Earlier in the day, News Central's crew visited an NNPC Limited fuel station for price increase confirmation. But as of the time, there was still no official statement.
I went inside earlier to speak to the manager of the petrol station, and he told me that the reason why they're not selling is because they haven't received petrol just yet. I equally asked him about the increase in price. Will the price go up? What is the official price now? And he declined responding to that question, saying that he hasn't received any memo as to price increase. Basically, he said all he can say is he can confirm that they will receive petrol sometime today. When they receive the product, he's expecting to get the memo as to what the new price will be. That's if there's an increase in the price, and then they'll begin to sell at that price, whatever it may be.
Residents of Lagos who spoke to News Central's crew lamented how more difficult things are about to become as the price of almost everything is hinged on the price of petrol.
920. I need to buy motor you want to 90 something thousand lo ma kun. So e ko ri be ni. Lilu ta no bata ni joye. E jo nto Olorun ba e ba wa be won. Kon wa solution kò sómi, kò síná, kò sí nǹkan kan. Gbogbo nǹkan everything kon high. O kon high. Okay nisin. Wọ́n ma te ko 920 nisin. Ó yá. Èló li o fẹ́ ma fi jẹun.
Meanwhile, whether or not petrol is being sold, residents of Lagos continue to join queues in front of petrol stations the moment they see signs of availability, regardless of how much it will be sold for.
Nigerians now have to come to terms with their new reality. The pump price of petrol has increased per litre. The question to now be asked is, with this new increment in price, will the product be readily available? Will the queues now disappear? Will petrol scarcity now be a thing of the past? Only time will tell. In Lagos for News Central, I'm Bernard Akede.
Meanwhile, the National Association of Nigerian Students has distanced itself from a planned protest against fuel price hikes scheduled for September 15. In a statement issued on Wednesday, NANS Senate President Afeez Akintaye dismissed the reports as false and baseless rumors that do not represent the position of the association. Akintaye also called on security agencies to conduct a thorough investigation to identify the source of the misinformation. Now, let's also tell you that the Citizens for Democratic Dividends in Nigeria has criticized the Nigerian Labour Congress for accusing the federal government of betraying their trust by increasing fuel prices, despite agreeing on a new minimum wage of 70,000 naira, lower than the original demand. In a statement signed by its executive director, Ahmad Idris, the group accused the NLC of betraying Nigerians by accepting the 70,000 naira minimum wage while overlooking the economic hardships faced by millions. The group also criticized the Joe Ajero-led NLC for refusing to participate in the nationwide End Bad Governance protest. This comes after NLC President Joe Ajero, in a statement on Tuesday, accused President Bola Tinubu of a deep sense of betrayal following the recent fuel price hike. Now I'll take a very short break, and when we return, Correctional Services has revealed that 3,590 inmates are on death row across the country's custodial centers. Join us again. Welcome back. Nigeria's Minister of State for Youth Development has said that President Bola Tinubu has approved the establishment of a national youth house in the Federal Capital Territory. The minister says that the youth house will serve as a central hub for coordinating the equipping of essential life skills for young citizens, including skills needed for leadership, teamwork, cooperation, and communication. He also added that youth centers will be established in all 36 states of the Federation, with a corresponding youth greenhouse to be located within the secretariats of all 774 local government areas across the country.
On Tuesday, 27th of August 2024, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, in keeping to the promise to the youth agenda in his government, has given approval for the youth house in Abuja. The youth house will not be limited to FCT alone. There would be a youth center in all the states of the Federation, with a corresponding youth greenhouse in all 774 local governments in Nigeria.
President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has reiterated his administration's commitments to sustainable growth through economic reforms. Speaking in Beijing with Chinese President Xi Jinping, Tinubu praised China's economic transformation and emphasized similar reforms in Nigeria, including tax and tariff reviews to foster growth and attract investment. Tinubu assured foreign investors of easy access to the Nigerian market. Both nations signed a memoranda of understanding to enhance their partnership, with Nigeria's Minister of Budget and National Planning, Atiku Bagudu, and China's National Development and Reform Commission Chairman Zhang Xingji formalizing the agreements. President Xi noted that strong ties between Nigeria and China and called for deeper cooperation to boost China-Africa relations ahead of the Forum on China-Africa Cooperation Summit. The Court of Appeal on Tuesday proposed an amendment to the Electoral Act that would allow a governor to be sworn in and nominate a new running mate if their deputy is disqualified by a court. The proposal comes in the wake of the Supreme Court's February 13, 2020 decision to sack David Leon of the All Progressives Congress as governor-elect of Bayelsa State just 24 hours before his inauguration. Leon's election was nullified after his deputy, Bio Barakuma Degi Iremioyo, was found to have submitted false information to the Independent National Electoral Commission. During a 3-day retreat on amendments to the 1999 Constitution and the Electoral Act 2022, the Appellate Court called on the National Assembly to address this anomaly to ensure smoother transitions of power in the future. Now to discuss this, we are joined by legal practitioner Festus Ogun. Festus, good evening. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me.
Good. Now, so Festus, how would you explain the proposed amendment to address the anomaly in the current Electoral Act?
I would say that the proposal by the Court of Appeal is commendable. However, I do not, with respect, agree with it. And the reason lies in the fact that when candidates are sponsored for an election and they've sponsored or appointed their deputy, the implication is that the governors ought to appoint those that have met the requirements of the Constitution. They ought to appoint those that have met the real requirements of the Constitution. And where the law as it stands now is that where a deputy is disqualified, then the ticket or the candidacy is completely disqualified. Similarly, when the governor is disqualified, the deputy will also be disqualified. If the amendment that the Court of Appeal has proposed is allowed to scale through, what we would see in the political space is that politicians who know they do not have strength, but has criminals, people that do not meet the requirements of the constitutions, but has the political popularity, you will see instances where they will bring in these people and, you know, have a ticket with them. At the end of the day, they would not mind if that person is taken away at the end of the day. So I think that the position of the law as it stands seems better when you want to pick a deputy, because you have the discretion to pick who will deputize you. When you want to pick a deputy, you must be very cautious of the person you intend to pick, and you equally must be ready to bear the consequences that comes with your choice. So I do not believe that provision of the law should be amended, or the current position of the law should be amended in that respect. Those that have appointed deputies that have not met the requirements of the Constitution should live by the consequences. If we are going to go by this argument, I would also say that then if a governor is disqualified, then the deputy should automatically move in. You know, that would not, you know, meet the intention of the draftment of the Constitution. So I strongly feel that that proposal would give political players in the country an avenue to bring all kinds of persons to join them in the race, which is not in the interest of our society. So I do not believe in that proposal. What I feel that we should amend in the Constitution is for IREV portal to be made compulsory, and the result on IREV portal should be relevant and admissible in court, and even should be prioritized than whatever other documents that INEC will produce later. I think that is what is important in Nigeria. We must entrench the IREV system into the Constitution and not just the Electoral Act. And we must also insist that results uploaded on INEC they are countenanced with and not discountenanced the way we've seen in our recent constitutional history.
So Festus, if this amendment was to go through, how do you think the future gubernatorial elections would hold in Nigeria? Do you see them going awry in any way?
That is what I've just said. We would have a situation where governors or governorship candidates will look about, pick whosoever they like, knowing fully well that, look, if this person is even disqualified, I will not be affected. That will not be in the interest of our country. What we want is for both the candidates and their deputies to be qualified in accordance with the provisions of the Constitution. A candidate who has not met the requirements of the Constitution has no reason to stay. And given that the ticket for governorship and deputy governorship, president and vice president positions are, a joint ticket, and the people have voted for the joint ticket through their political parties, then they must swim together. And if they are going to sink, they must sink together. If they are going to scale through, they must scale through together. You cannot get to power and we begin to cherry pick who should go and who should leave. When you have not been, if you are not deputized by a person who has met the requirements of the Constitution, or if your governorship candidate has not met the requirements of the Constitution, then you have to leave. Look, let me tell you the interesting part. The interesting part is that under our current constitutional regime, under Section 251 of the Constitution, you see that if you have nominated in a deputy governorship candidate that has not met the requirements of the Constitution, no political party can go to court to challenge your candidacy. Because under Section 251, you must be an aspirant who participated in a primary election to challenge if a person has met the requirements of the Constitution. particularly if a deputy governor has made the requirement of the constitution. So that means that before the election, no citizen of Nigeria can go to court to challenge a deputy governor that is patently not qualified. No member of the political party, no aspirant can go to court. The only instance where you can challenge this is after the election. So when you go after the election, the person who has been nominated as governor or who has been sworn in as governor knows that he doesn't have anything to lose anyway, even if my deputy is taken out on the issue of disqualification. That shows that we will now have instances where issues of disqualification will be rife because our political players will now appoint people that are patently not qualified, knowing fully well that you cannot challenge us before the election. And even if you challenge us after the election, I will still, the governorship candidate or the person sworn in as governor will still find his way. So I do not believe that it is healthy for our political atmosphere. I believe the position should stay. And I think that what we should emphasize on at this point is for the IREF portal to be entrenched in the constitution. And the constitution should mandate that the usage of IREF and uploading of results on IREF is compulsory, and even premium should be placed on it over and above results that will be later brought in hard copy by INEC. I think what we need is to strengthen the use of technology during this election. I think that is what matters at this point, for me at this point.
All right, Festus. Thank you very much, Festus Okun. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
The Nigeria Correctional Service has revealed that 3,590 inmates are on death row across the country's custodial centers. The service's public relations officer, Abubakar Umar, stated that the total number of inmates is 84,741. Umar noted that the majority of the inmates are awaiting trial persons, which poses a significant challenge. However, the service is taking steps to address the issue, including releasing 4,063 individuals who were given the option to pay fines and/or compensation. The service says it is also building new facilities, expanding community sentencing, and implementing congestion measures. Umar also noted that the service had seen significant enhancement in the treatment and care of inmates, particularly in personal reformation, rehabilitation programs, and successful reintegration into society. He said that as of 31st August 2024, 1,282 inmates were enrolled in the National Open University of Nigeria, now Special Study Center. And the Lagos State government, through its Domestic and Sexual Violence Agency, DSVA, has charged community leaders to tackle sexual and gender-based violence. The charge was given on Tuesday in Ikeja at a one-day training for community leaders with the theme Community Leaders, Flag Bearers in the Fight Against SGBV. News Central's Bettina Nweli reports.
The community is one of the most powerful tools of the anti-violence movement. For while communities can shame, victim blame, or prescribe harmful gender roles, they can also empower women, collaborate on prevention and intervention, and collectively shape new norms of gender democracy.
They are extremely relevant because they are the closest to the grassroots. You know, a lot of times when there is an incidence of sexual and gender-based violence, you find that they are comfortable in reporting to, let's say, their CDC chairman or any other member of the community. In fact, they are actually the first point of call before they would maybe go anywhere to look for help.
This program today has really gone so far in exposing us and making us to know what the law says, what we should be doing, and what should not be done. And this information will be passed from the CDC representatives to all the CDAs in the 57 local government and LCDA in Lagos State.
According to Mr. Damilare Adewusi, head of the Community Engagement Unit, community leaders can influence decisions, policies, and initiatives to address and prevent sexual and gender-based violence, as well as shape community responses.
We want them to be able to go to their community and be the one to champion the cause for domestic and sexual violence in the state. What we can keep on doing is to keep on creating awareness. When there is an enabling environment for people to report, it gives people the confidence to be able to come forth and speak. And that's what we are doing, and that's what we'll keep on doing. And in fact, that's what the Lagos State government is doing throughout the month of September.
Also, attitude are factors that contribute to violence on the sexual violence causes. The Lagos State government has put it across to us that there should be penalties. Some are jail, some are total imprisonment, some have years of serving in the custody of law, in the jail, in the cell.
Engaging community leaders is an essential part of sexual and gender-based violence prevention efforts in Lagos. Leaders are encouraged to use their influence to promote gender equality, condemn sexual and gender-based violence, and challenge harmful practices within their communities. It is also key to informing victims of their rights and the support services available to them. In Lagos, for News Central, I am Bettina Nwili.
Coming up, Zimbabwe court keeps opposition leader activists in jail over alleged unlawful gathering. We'll bring you the details after the break. Welcome back. In East Africa, Ugandan opposition leader Bobi Wine is set to undergo surgery after suffering a leg wound during a chaotic incident in Bulindo, north of Kampala. Initially, his party reported he was shot, but his lawyer, George Musisi, says Wine was hit by a tear gas canister. Musisi claims police targeted Wine, who is a vocal critic of President Yoweri Museveni. The incident occurred when police fired tear gas at Wine's supporters and a canister exploded, injuring his leg. Wine's party has condemned the incident, and Ugandan police have opened an investigation. Now, a major oil project in Uganda, co-owned by French multinational Total Energies and China's CNOOC, is facing serious allegations of human rights abuses, including sexual violence, forced evictions, and environmental degradation. The $10 billion investment involves drilling for oil in the Lake Albert region of northeastern Uganda and constructing a 1,443-kilometer heated pipeline to transport crude oil to Tanzania's Indian Ocean port in Tanga. According to reports, residents of villages in the Kingfisher area have described being forcibly evicted, often with little to no notice, by the Ugandan People's Defense Forces. Those who spoke to Climate Rights International claimed they were met with threats, coercion, and intimidation when they questioned or opposed the acquisition of their land. And now to discuss this, we are joined by Executive Director, Environment Governance Institute Uganda based in Kampala, Samuel Okuloning. You're welcome, Samuel. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much, and it's a pleasure being here.
Yes. Now, Samuel, what's the current status of the Kingfisher oil project, and how is it affecting the local villages?
Yes, maybe just to give a little bit of context in regards to the Kingfisher project, it's one that is operated by CNOOC, that's China National Offshore Oil Corporation, and its majority shareholding is Total Energies, which has a 56.6% shareholding, while CNOOC has a 28.3% shareholding. The current status is that the area is extremely militarized. As you know, the project came around 2012 into the area, and they came with all the promises to our people, saying, oh, this project is going to bring in a lot of benefits to the local people. They'll bring in jobs, they'll bring in the necessary revenue that will be able to uplift the communities, especially that the poverty levels within the area. Communities came and they welcomed the project, saying, oh, this could be the magic bullet that will be able to amplify or make benefit for our livelihoods. However, each and every day that kept going by, they kept on violating each and every promise that they made to the local people. As I speak to you now, the area in Kingfisher is heavily militarized. There's an army detached which is composed of 1,000 soldiers, in a small village of in a small area of 13 villages. And the army is composed of 1,000 soldiers, which are, of course, for our regular UPDF, that's the Uganda People's Defense Forces. And as I speak to you, what is happening in Kingfisher is extremely touching and extremely violating in terms of how they have been operating this project. I can talk about the first evictions of people. As you know, the area within Kingfisher, the land was originally communally owned. As a spirit of Ubuntu, you can be able to get a piece of land, used to graze your cattle. You come in back to your home, another person will be able to graze. We live with that kind of sharing. However, the arrival of Sinok meant that this was not going to continue. People have been forcibly evicted with of course, the aid of the UPDF, the regular Uganda People's Defense Forces. In a village called Kina Chabasongo, the UPDF have actually perpetrated in regards to evicting people. The people are given about 2 days to leave their land. Others were given only just like 1 hour. In Chabasongo, they came and told you need to leave this place. We are going to deploy in here. People had to run. They could pick a few things that they could be able to pick to go with. And the area was extremely destroyed. Those that stayed back within the area, they started descending and established their camps within that area. So as you're staying in your home, staying in your household, you're trying to get time to pack your things. A tent is erected in front of your house. They're telling you need to go. As you're still negotiating, they start uprooting your cassava, your food crops. So you're forcefully meant that you have to leave. But also you know that the Kingfisher area is just happening within the lake shore of Lake Albert. Lake Albert is a shared lake with Uganda and the DRC. But still it houses the fishing community. But the deployment of the UPDF, that is meant to protect the installations of Sinok, meant that the fishing communities have been restricted from fishing.
Mr. Okuloni,
so imagine...
I wanted to ask,
yes.
With all of this, are the villagers actually informed about their rights regarding the land ownership and the oil extraction operation in the area? Are they awarded anything from anything that's extracted from that portion of land?
No, the communities are not benefiting from the extraction. The government...
Are they aware of their rights? Are they also aware of their rights as well regarding the ownership of the land?
Kingfisher is one of the areas that with the least levels of education in the whole country. So the community's awareness in terms of their rights to land has only been brought by the civil society organizations. During the evaluation process, the disclosure of land evaluation rates, this was entirely done by the oil companies. And they could do on what they wanted to do. And this was done in English. The community is purely indigenous and the level of education is extremely low. So the communities did not understand even what they were signing. And those that tried to resist were threatened that if you do not sign to give out your land, you'll be pushed into the lake. And due to that threat, people had to sign. But this at the community, like I said, was a communally owned land. So no matter how much land you had, you would be given a small plot of 50 by 100. So people that were doing agriculture, people were doing business, you could no longer continue doing the same work. What made it even worse that they could not replace the land that they lost. So making people's lives more worse than they came. And
all right, then.
Contrary to all the promises that they came to.
I want to say thank you very much, Mr. Okuloni, for joining us this evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do stay tuned. Coming up, business here on News Central. Now, in the wake of the 2024 Paralympic, the OMD Consumer Intelligence Study conducted in collaboration with Geopol highlights robust consumer engagement across Africa. The study shows that 95% of respondents watched the Olympics, reflecting the event's widespread appeal. Notably, 78% of viewers reported that major events influenced their viewing habits, demonstrating the dynamic nature of audience behavior. A literal goldmine for advert placement. Now, meanwhile, in the ongoing Paralympics, 86% of respondents expressed strong interest, indicating a promising outlook for continued engagement. Looking ahead, anticipation is building for the 2028 Los Angeles Olympics, with 90% eager to tune in. These insights provide valuable data for brands to tailor future marketing strategies and maximize their impact. Now, we're currently experiencing a negative real return environment where inflation exceeds the profits investors are earning on their investments. On Marketplace, or rather Market Pulse, financial analyst Kalu Aja shared his insight on this situation and discussed whether there are any signs of a potential turnaround in the coming months.
Early in the year, stocks were giving the real return. Stocks were doing about 36 to 39%. Inflation was still about 33%. Now we sort of changed out a bit. We've seen the stock come down, i.e. the returns, and also inflation has also come down. The pace of gross inflation has also come down. So in terms of real rates, there is no investment in Nigeria today that gives you a real rate of return.
No investment?
Equities, none. There is no regulated investment today that would give you a real rate of return that would beat inflation about 3%. But equities does tend to close that gap significantly. So if you can take the risk, equities looks like a place you should pack some funds in. Then any other dollar type investment, just because it's dollar, it holds the currency for your naira from falling. It might not pay you a lot, but it sort of like defends your naira from falling. But equities in Nigeria, especially the banking stocks, the industrials, the Dango, the banks, do offer you that bit of return and also that capital preservation that you seek it.
Now, PMS from Dango to refinery is anticipated to enter the market soon. During a segment on Market Pulse, guest Wade Ahime shared his insight on whether this will provide any relief for dollar demand.
Free up a bit more of foreign currency for buying crude by Dangote. I don't know how much of it is going to free up. But it should free up at least a sizable amount. Maybe, I don't know in which range, maybe about 5-10%, depending.
5-10%.
So that should boost the market as a whole. But the question also, how does it impact the naira? Because nobody is telling us what the exchange rate is that you are selling to Dangote in naira in, because crude is priced in dollar, not in naira. That's the question for me that regulators and the federal government and the NNPC needs to tell us so that we have a clear idea. Yes, if it starts to pump PMS into the market, they're saying it will start with about 25 million liters per day, which is...
Doesn't quite meet our demand, does it?
It doesn't meet the full demand, because
the
local demand locally every day is about, from what the NNPC says, that data really is inconsistent.
Transparency.
But it has come to between 32 million per day.
Okay.
And Dangote is saying that by October, it should be able to push out 30 million liters every day. That will be substantial. It should drive the prices a bit lower, because now you're taking naira and you're paying in naira.
And that's all at this hour. But before we go, let's take another look at some of the major stories we brought your way. NANS has dismissed planned protest over fuel price hike, warns against misinformation. And deadly Mpox disease has resurfaced in Nigeria. Awareness remains low, however. We also told you that Zimbabwe court has kept opposition leader activists in jail. Now, do remember you can send your eyewitness reports to the WhatsApp number on your screen now. And do follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can watch News Central live on DSTV, channel 422, Star Times, channel 274, Evo TV, and, of course, on YouTube. Many thanks for watching. My name is Mazino Appeal.